Evening. This is Vyasha from Iona Technologies. So today we are conducting a webinar for securing the cloud environment through GRC and Mr. Shan and Kumar Pushpak. Mr. Shan, who is a security expert over here, and Kumar Pushpak, who heads the team for Iona Technologies, right? Situated in Bangalore, India, Sharjah, UAE, and Delaware, US. So they will be carrying this forward. So I'll just share my PPT and
Thanks, Tiasha, for an introduction. And just a slight correction here. So I represent Iona Technologies, and I head it as a CEO for Iona Technologies. Shan is from Andata, and this presentation and webinar is in collaboration with in between Iona and Andata. So guys, please go through this entire presentation. If you have any questions around, Shan would be able to answer, I'm pretty sure. Shan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kumar. And yes, I am Shanawaz Muhammad. I currently associated with Anadata Consulting, and we are collaborated with Iona Technologies. We've been working together for quite some time now, and throughout the space of like information security. So this presentation, this webinar, the whole thing that we prepared is to give a kind of like an introduction into securing cloud environments through GRC. So now, let me first give you a little bit of background about myself. Uh, and Tiasha, can you please move to the next slide, and then like we'll go from there. So this is what is the agenda for today, like little bit of like introduction of like what Iona and Anadata does, like why we are dealing about like cloud security, what exactly is GRC, and how GRC plays an important role in securing cloud. And then like we have like Anadata as such has built a kind of a tool called as like Clear GRC, which is a GRC based tool. So we'll give you an overview about like Clear GRC. We'll help you understand like how it enhances cloud security. And then like later on we look at like few customer success stories. And then like we'll leave the forum for question and answers. So that's the agenda for today. Now, I'm like, as you already know about like Kumar Pushpak, who's CEO of Iona Technologies. I currently work as Information System Security Officer at Anadata, and I'm residing currently in New Jersey. And you can get on to the next slide, Tiasha. Like that's like brief overview of myself. Like this is what I do. I currently head the complete infrastructure security at Anadata. I conduct the assessments, like offensive security assessments for various clients, like ranging from Fortune 500 to like a startup kind of a client as well. And I have like in-depth exposure and expertise in GRC. And these two tags that you see, the brands that you see, Clear InfoSec and Clear GRC, the logos, like they are kind of like what I initiated it, and I am kind of like a co-founder of Clear GRC as well. So that's a little bit of like introduction about myself. Coming to my certifications, I'm like an ISO lead auditor. I have CISSP, CISCC, SK, CISA, which is like an auditor kind of a certification. So I have like a versatile kind of an exposure into information security. That's a little bit of about myself. Let's get on to the next slide so that like we'll get onto the actual topic of like what exactly is cloud security. And Tiasha. So this particular slide is about like the partnership, like how Iona Technologies and Anadata partnered together in order to provide cybersecurity kind of like services. So that's about like our whole partnership. And we figured out like Iona has got a great presence in like India and Dubai. So we wanted to like go and like expand Iona's offerings. We wanted to go and like collaborate with Iona. It's kind of like a mutual benefit for us, so that like we can go and provide them within the space of like cybersecurity, as we've been like mastering cybersecurity from past 30 plus years in Anadata in US. So we wanted to like expand, we wanted to penetrate into those markets, and Iona been of like great help for us till now. So yeah, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so this is about like the introduction. I'll give you a basic brief introduction. Like currently, the whole world is saying this paradigm shift of like on premises to cloud. And when I say on premises to cloud, I'm like that this was in peaks during COVID, because COVID, it was uh, like encouraging people to work from home. People were like sticking in home, and they were like having all the resources to work from home. And cloud computing is one such kind of an technology which can enhance like ease of connecting to your workspaces, and then like placing it in a such a place where you don't have to worry about like nitty gritty details of your hardware, nitty gritty details of your infrastructure, your rack and stack, all of those things. So like cloud computing take care of it. I'm like, the big players in the market like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they have their own cloud offerings. I mean, like even Oracle, so they have their own cloud offerings. And what they do is like they pour in a lot of money into securing their cloud environment. But even then, like it's kind of like in shared environment, so a lot of people would be sharing the same infrastructure. So there is a little bit of like uh, a hiccup in going ahead and like adapting to the cloud environment when it comes to security. So most of the security folks say that cloud is like way better secure than your on premises. But how do you manage it? How do you check on that? How do you keep a track of like how secure your cloud environment is? So that's what we'll be like looking into it through the eyes of a GRC specialist, through the eyes of a GRC guys. So let's get on to like what exactly is cloud security first. Like you understood like how cloud security is like important. Now I'll tell you like what are the aspects that goes into like cloud security. Let's speak about like data protection. Data protection is like very crucial thing. I mean, as said that it's a kind of like a shared environment. You would be having kind of like shared services shared across like various customers, and your data, the possibility of data getting like shared with other customers is also high. But cloud by default provides like a strong segmentation where your data is kind of like protection. But again, like from an offensive security standpoint, I'm like I work most of my career into like offensive security, so I understand like how hacking and all works. So from that standpoint, I assume like protecting and having the due diligence from our side is like at most important, rather than just relying on like whatever cloud providers are giving us. So for that data protection, like we want to go ahead and like have encryption. So if we are going ahead and like following any sort of like encryption for data in transit, we would be going with SSL certificates. For data at rest, we would be like encrypting the data by using various kind of like technologies, like can be like PVKDF2 or anything. I'm like, it can be anything. So now these technologies, I'm like, can be only adapted when you have a standard or a framework in place. Okay, now will get into like all the other aspects. Like we spoke about like offensive security, kind of like cyber security threats. Okay, we spoke about like business continuity. We Pritesh, can you please go on mute? Right. Okay, cool. So yeah, we speak about like business continuity because like cloud or by default offers business continuity, but how do you keep a track of that? That's a kind of like security aspect that we need to keep a track of it. Regulatory and compliance. I'm like, what kind of standard is, what kind of like encryption keys that we can have? What kind of like new attacks there in the market? So all these things we need to like keep a track on it, and regulatory compliance kind of a framework or a standard would be the basis for all these things. So that would provide you, I'm like, let's say you go and like tell out in the market that you have a quality kind of like service provider, you're a quality kind of a service provider. So you intend to go and like say that you are an ISO 9001 kind of a certified guy, because that shows the quality of work that you provide. And that is like a certification that is already accepted, widely accepted throughout the industry. Similarly, in information security, if you want to showcase your customers that whatever the data that you capture about the customers, about the people out there in the market, you have this standard called ISO 27001. Like there are various other standards, like ISO 27001 is one such standard which is widely accepted throughout the world, throughout the globe. And there is other standards. I'm like, if you are focused on like US based firms, US based organizations, then there is a NIST kind of a framework which is widely followed. So these are like compliance kind of like requirement which would enhance the security. But nowadays governments are also taking kind of like an additional step to ensure that the customer data is secure. So they are imposing regulatory requirement onto the organizations. Can be regulatory requirement from RBI India, can be regulatory requirement from NYDFS, which is New York Department of Financial Services, can be a regulatory requirement from US Department of Homeland Security. So these are kind of like regulatory bodies in a nutshell. I'm like European. If you look at like European thing, you would know about like GDPR, which is also kind of like a regulatory kind of an requirement. So these are the things that we need to like keep a track on. And how cloud security, like cloud is by default, it's kind of like slightly secure because Amazon, Microsoft, and Google guys pour in so much of money into it. But what we would be doing here is like, how can we keep a track of it? How can we quantify that? So that's what we'll be like looking into it. Can you move on to the next slide, yes? So what exactly is GRC? We've been speaking about like GRC for a while. What exactly is GRC? GRC is like looking security from an holistic point of governance, risk, and compliance. It's not like if you look at it like in silos, like governance is like in different silo. Risk management, you have a risk management team. Compliance management, you have a compliance management team. If you look at like three different silos, three different kind of like an aspect, then there are areas which would like miss out. The connection between governance and risk, the connection between governance and compliance, risk and compliance, those things would be like missing out. So what GRC does is like it would give you a holistic overview of like whole governance, like what kind of framework standards that you need to follow, complete risk of the organization, what is the kind of a risk that you have, what is an internal risk, what is an external risk, what is an inherent risk. So all those things would be like part of your risk management. And then you have compliance. Like as I said, like nowadays governments are imposing a lot of regulatory requirement, so we need to be abiding to those kind of like standards, regulatory requirements, or compliance. If we are not abiding, there are like huge fines which would be causing into like reputational damage or kind of like financial losses. So these things are like a core focus of like GRC. Now, the role of GRC in cloud security. How do we quantify like what kind of security we have in cloud, and how we go ahead and like use it across the like board. Now, what we do is like we go and like perform a risk management, a risk assessment, and we analyze all the risk factors. Now, risk, we can define it as the probability of a vulnerability to be exploited and the impact that is caused on that particular asset. So that's a loose definition of risk. Now here you can think about like vulnerabilities. So we need to track all the vulnerabilities. You need to track exploits, which is like nothing but the threats that you need to track on all the threats, where it is coming from. And then you have like the assets, because that would define you the kind of an impact, like what is the impact of it. So all these things, like when you go and like define the asset, threat, vulnerabilities in nutshell, you can go ahead and like define what is the risk that is associated with that particular asset. So we can go ahead and like help you in understanding the risk management. We can go ahead and like help you to have a strong policy management in place, where you can go ahead and like define all your policies, review them, and you can track like when is this policy, particular policy coming to an end, and you can go and like manage all the policies from one single screen through policy management. And then this, by doing this, you would be already be like performing and continuous monitoring, because you'll be getting continuous alerts from related to your risk, related to your assets, related to your policies. And then at the same time, these policies while writing, you would get kind of like a support, whether that is aligned with your standards, whether that is aligned with your regulatory requirement, whether that is aligned with your whatever the kind of like security standard that you want.